had 1,000 coffees and caffeine doesn't even get to me that way. But that's how I'm just jittery, excited because today's episode. Oh, I love exposing liars so much. Are you excited?
I am very, very excited.
I'm so excited that I paid £1 to the Times so I can get access to these articles. The things I do for YouTube. This is sarcasm for those of you who can't detect it, but it was hidden behind a paywall. What we're looking at today are a couple of articles that are exclusive extracts from Tom Bower's upcoming book about Meghan and Harry called Revenge. So the first extract is about Meghan's Vanity Fair cover shoot. And the second one is more about the aftermath of the Oprah interview up until pretty much what's been going on this year with the Jubilee. So it's very much up to date. I'm definitely getting this book and I cannot wait to sink my teeth into it because, oh boy, you don't just get justice in a court of law. Actually that rarely happens. There are other ways of getting justice, and one of them is exposing evil people and liars who want to harm others who've done nothing to them. Because usually I don't like gloating about people's downfall. But what we all have to remember here is this woman and her husband are anything but good people. Of course, we're talking about Meghan and Harry. For those of you who are more for the Johnny Depp content, unfortunately, this may not be for you, but you may want to stick around because move over, Amber Heard. This is the next downfall.
Absolutely.
For someone who, like I said, has caused nothing but destruction in their wake and has essentially caused a family rift. Within a family that was prior to her involvement, at least the immediate family, the siblings, William and Harry and Queen Elizabeth, they were close.
Yep. It's almost as if it's Rachel's day in court.
So if you like to see justice getting served or evil people or liars getting exposed, then definitely stick around for this episode. I do have to say that obviously this is a book. It's unauthorized by Tom Bower. He also happens to be an investigative journalist, so not just an author. And that's quite evident in the things that we're going to uncover today because it's personally things that I have never come across myself. I think everyone who's read these excerpts or extracts are very much not in shock because we all knew, people who follow the news in terms of this couple, we all knew that she is a liar. And but to get access to seemingly actual concrete evidence that she is, that her entire life from as far back as when she was 11 years old, before I was even born, this woman's entire life story is essentially a lie, according to these extracts, and we haven't even gotten the book yet.
Yeah.
So without any further ado, let's get straight into it. The first extract that was released by the Sunday Times is, as I said, about the Vanity Fair cover story that we all remember. I actually have the original open here. No, Vanity Fair, I'm not going to pay you any money. But I remember when this was out. And Harry's girl. Okay, cool, whatever. Now, anyone who looks at this article, the Vanity Fair cover shoot, would think this girl, she made it and Hollywood is scrambling to get a story with her and a cover story of, especially, and just to get the first kind of exclusive sit-down interview with the previously unknown Meghan Markle. And I remember even seeing photos of her with the photographer and thinking, this girl, she knows people. She's gone places or she's going places. You just get this idea of Meghan Markle being an A-lister, which is the image that she wanted to project, of course, to the world. But it was anything but that. So to start off, Vanity Fair's editor basically had to convince the magazine's editor-in-chief to offer Meghan Markle not just an interview, but to be featured on the front cover. Now, Mr. Carter, famed as a man ahead of the curve, had never heard of Meghan or of Suits. I do have to say that the way you hear the Suits cast talk about Suits, especially back in the day, they just talked about it like it was the most successful show on the face of the planet. You know, USA Network's #1 show. When quite frankly, I think I read it was 1.5 million viewers of that show.
Which, you know, normally when you talk millions, you think that's a lot, but when it comes to TV shows...
For a TV show.
I mean, spoiler alert, if it wasn't for meeting you, I would have never heard of the show Suits.
Why do I know about Suits?
Because people keep saying, oh, you're a lawyer, you must love Suits, right? And
they said that to me in the army, though, not in...
Exactly, but that's how I know about Suits, is that remark. That's it. Other than that, I do not know about the show. And that's not to knock the show.
Yeah, it's just, it wasn't as well known as Meghan and the cast members love to portray it was.
Yeah.
And yes, it did gain some sort of popularity after her engagement to Prince Harry. But that's because of her engagement to Prince Harry, not because the show, you know, on its own merits gained traction.
Yeah.
It lasted for, I don't know if it's ended, by the way. I think there was, 9 seasons, 7 seasons? I'm not sure. I mean, it was quite, you know, in terms of seasons, it was successful, but no one knew about it technically, including Harry himself. And, you know, we've said this on previous podcasts, even about Amber Heard. There's nothing wrong with being unknown.
Yep.
But think about the context. Who are we talking about here? You know, we're talking about people who love to pretend that they are all that, and that they made them, you know, they're self-made women who didn't need a man, who don't need no man to be successful, especially these two, Amber and Meghan, who preach about feminism and about being an independent, strong woman when their entire existence as we know it and as they know it is a direct result of the men that they have attached themselves to.
Absolutely.
Of course, Amber, you know, Johnny Depp. I mean, seriously, it's the same narrative.
Yep.
No one knew who Amber Heard. Some people, up until the trial itself.
Yeah. That's hilarious.
All right, let's get back into it. So, the editor-in-chief never heard of her, but he was persuaded that Harry's latest girlfriend was destined to change the royal family. Oh boy, she did indeed. So it looks like she was working with Sunshine Sachs as far back as 2017, so before she became a duchess. And the agency spent years struggling to get Meghan noticed. And finally, Vanity Fair's approach proved that her relationship with Harry was priceless. So right from the get-go...
It was Harry's coattails.
Exactly. Why did Vanity Fair even bother interviewing her? Because of Prince Harry. For Meghan, the news was electrifying. Thousands of Hollywood wannabes she knew had begged Carter for Vanity Fair's recognition. Getting the cover photo was the ultimate prize. The amazing bonus was the magazine's offer that Peter Lindbergh, the famous German fashion photographer, would spend a day with Meghan in a London studio. So she'd never met him before, and that's why I brought up the photo, and I went, oh, you know, she just loves, this is the thing with Meghan, if you look at the archive of her Instagram, which yes, I have, she poses with these really important people, and the photo tells you a story that, like I said, this woman is someone who's arrived, or as Lady C likes to say, arriven. And, you know, likes to pretend or portray that she has friends in high places, when really she just posed for a photo with them. Acting really familiar with them when they don't even know her. And they're probably just being really nice.
Which is something that just about anyone could do if they ran into a celebrity on the street. If they were, I don't know, I just feel like, you know, you're walking down a famous street in Hollywood and you run into a celebrity, you stand there for a photo.
Take a selfie.
And depending on what, most people are ecstatic, like, I can't believe I actually ran into this person. But, you know, there is probably a way, which is what she's doing here. There's a way to manipulate your own face to be like, yeah, I know this person, we're best buds.
Exactly. And her Instagram was full of that. So this isn't the first time she's done it. Right. So living with Harry had already transformed her life. The feature could even prompt Harry to announce their engagement, delayed, according to Harry, until the Queen's formal approval on her return from Balmoral in the autumn. So their engagement was announced in November from memory. So it was months later, basically. We know about the engagement story. I'm not going to go through it. It's that, I couldn't even let him finish and she had to say yes. Okay, great. Now, what's funny is this part about the ring, because I remember in the interview, Harry said that he designed it himself. So he gave her a ring with Diana's 2 diamonds on either side and yellow Botswana gold. And it's important because Botswana is a place in Africa where that's very important to them because that's where they bonded. That's where they got to know each other. And he was particularly proud of his design. Meghan did not conceal her excitement, even though it would seem she was secretly determined to have it redesigned as soon as possible.
That sounds like our Rachel.
As soon as she had that kid, and she appeared for, I think it was Trooping of the Colors of 2019, still, very obviously had just given birth, her appearance, that ring was changed.
Yeah.
When Archie was born, we know that she showed her true colors even prior to the wedding, but there was definitely a spike in her entitlement.
Yes.
When the baby was born.
Yes, and that's no accident. That's no mistake. That is exactly her plan.
Mm-hmm.
Once I have a baby with him, he can't run away.
Yeah.
And what's terrifying is that that's probably the narrative for a lot of relationships when it comes to both men and women in power. That sort of ensnarement, love bomb them until you have a kid and then be like, well, now I'm all that and you can't get rid of me.
Yeah. Or if you do get rid of me, you're going to be tied down with, in her case, millions of pounds of child support or whatever it is. Probably not pounds, dollars because of where they live, but you know what I mean. Yeah. Just roping him into a lifelong, ensuring basically the kid is her meal ticket.
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah.
And it also solidifies her position as his wife, which is very old-fashioned when it comes to the royal family, and not just the British royal family, just monarchies in general. Because I remember with Marie Antoinette, because I was there, her mother really, really, really pressured her and hounded her to get pregnant.
Yeah.
She couldn't for 7 years.
Yeah.
Until she was 21. Oh my God, you waited till you were 21.
How dare you?
But basically, it was because her position as the future Queen of France was precarious because she didn't have a child with Prince Louis at the time.
Yeah, and then at this point, if you look at it from her point of view, it's a win-win. Oh, he decides that he's seen my true colors and he wants nothing to do with me. Fine. We get a divorce, and then I run every single tabloid ever saying that he was abusive and and it was all his fault and I had to run away and it was my decision.
Yeah.
And you run away with millions and millions of dollars. Or he keeps her. Because I bet that even if he wanted to at this point, even if he wanted to divorce her, he'd be thinking, well, look what she did when she left the royal family. She's going to do the same thing to me.
Oh, yeah, she'll end him.
Yeah.
And he's so mentally fragile that it will end him.
Yeah. And then she'll keep dressing up as his mother afterwards, and it will just be, he'll go into the spiral of insanity.
Oh, boy. But yeah, so I remember when she changed it, there was an uproar about it. At the time, it was pre-Oprah interview. I remember thinking it was a bit... Again, it was another red flag moment for me. The interview was the first red flag moment. I kind of forgot about it because she wasn't on my radar. That came up, and I was like... I do remember... if you designed... imagine I changed the engagement ring you gave me.
Yeah.
And it looked very different to all... all the thought and the process... all the thought and consideration you gave to it.
Yeah.
And it's customized and it was just for me, and then I changed it.
It's just entitled and smug and arrogant and narcissistic in every way, shape, and form.
Many people, it didn't sit well with them. It's obviously it's one of those situations where you can easily say, so what if she did it? And again, I don't disagree with that. It's one of those, your opinion may vary on this thing.
And not to mention that, all right, so she doesn't like the ring on that finger as much, or she really wants a particular type of ring. How many fingers has she got left? Right?
She could have,
She could have put it on another finger. Okay, cool. Yeah.
Anywho, moving on. So, we know that Harry called her father for his approval, but apparently it was just a 5-minute conversation. In less than 5 minutes, the conversation was over. Markle was sworn to secrecy. In this instance, Markle was Thomas Markle. So not only has Harry never met her father to this very day, which, in some instances, I'm not saying that everyone has to meet someone's father.
Yeah.
There are maybe legitimate reasons where your partner hasn't met your parent yet. Maybe your parent is legitimately not exactly the best person in the world. But in this instance, for, you know, as far as we know from Meghan herself, again, based on her interviews, on her Instagram, on the TIG, she had a very close relationship to both her parents.
Yeah.
So there was no excuse
Exactly.
in this instance.
Exactly. If you're on great terms or even just good terms with your parents, well, you let them in on who you're going to marry, you know?
Yeah. True to form, with Meghan trying to sound like, oh no, it shouldn't be about me. Apparently, she didn't want the Vanity Fair article to be about her either. She wanted it to be about her acting career, and especially as an activist and philanthropist. I hate this word. Philanthropist.
So she wanted it to be about nothing because none of those things exist.
It's funny you say that because Zach did not read this article. He knows nothing about the extract. I didn't tell you anything, and it's funny you say that. Hang on to that. Just,
okay,
yeah.
holding on to it.
The interview would introduce Meghan to the world. Indeed, it did. Not really, though, because I think I knew about it after the engagement interview. So I think many people still didn't know who the hell she was until the interview. And then there's this thing about how they wanted to really emphasize the 100th episode of Suits, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Harry, she revealed, had only agreed to the article because, as Meghan declared, the producers wanted to celebrate Suits' centenary. So it sounds to me that Harry only agreed to this interview at all because she told him it would be about Suits.
Right, which, you know, if you believe anything that comes out of Rachel's mouth, well, hey, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, well, you know, how many times do you want to get fooled, Harry?
I can't even count the number of... I mean, every second of his life, he's getting fooled.
Anyone else with two brain cells would have known, would have been able to see... Like this is probably the centenary of the amount of times that she's lied to him at this point.
Listen. She targeted him.
Yep.
For a reason.
Yep.
I mean, even if William was single, she could not have taken him on.
Yep.
He's too switched on. But yeah, Harry fell for it because even he knew at the time, still within, you know, the bosom of the royal family, even he knew that we don't give interviews. Catherine didn't sit down with Vanity Fair to announce her engagement and talk about, you know, dish on the relationship with her and William.
Yep.
So it's just not the way it's done.
But Rachel's the sort of person where if you tell her we don't do this, she goes, but I want to do that exact thing that I had no intention of doing beforehand. But now that you've told me I can't do it, now I want to do it. Yep,
because she is a strong and independent woman who will not take no for an answer. Which is not what makes a strong and independent woman. You know,
No.
what do I know? But, you know, I'm hoping I know more than this one.
I mean, you know, there are a lot of people who know a lot more than Rachel. That's why the irony being that she thinks everyone else is stupid. She thinks she can swindle everyone and take, you know, basically lie her way to fame, right? When in reality, she's the stupid one for assuming that everyone else was that stupid.
It's just so ironic that you're saying these things because, oh my goodness, this is a learning lesson to anyone out there. You never know. You never know what might happen in the future. You might become a public person.
Yeah.
I'm not saying you might marry a prince, but you might become a public person, and all of the lies that you may have said. I'm not saying everyone is a liar and all the lies will get uncovered, but this is really a learning lesson. And again, this is assuming that Tom Bauer is, I'm almost 100% certain, not almost, I'm 100% certain that he's had lawyers go over his transcripts several times.
Yeah.
Because Meghan Markle is a very litigious person. This is not a book about William and Catherine and Charles and Camilla where they probably won't sue. This is Meghan Markle. She will sue you up until the eyeballs if she could. She would sue the hell out of anyone and everything. So I'm sure that Mr. Bauer has been very careful, and being an investigative journalist, he's probably put in things that are 100% backed up with evidence.
Which is ironic because for the monarchy that she hated, she's certainly acting very dictatorial with that.
Absolutely.
Let me silence the truth, which you know, the royal family she's a part of has since moved past that, and they don't silence the truth. But here she is pretending it's, you know, 300 years ago, and she can say what the truth is. And if you do anything that isn't what I say, it's not how the world works, man.
Off with your head.
Yep.
Red Queen. Now we get to the juicy bits. I mean, to me, the juicy bits start, but this is really when we get into it. So, Sam Kashner, a long-standing contributing editor at the magazine, was assigned to the interview. Known for high-profile cover stories about Jennifer Lawrence, Nicole Kidman, Rosamund Pike, and Lee Radziwill, I don't know the latter to be honest, the sister of Jacqueline Onassis, okay, that's why, Kashner had previously lived in Toronto, which is where Meghan lived for 7 years while she filmed Suits, and where Harry secretly visited her, and where she pretended to be an A-list celebrity wearing baseball caps, sunglasses, and hiding in case people recognized her. And this is coming straight from people who went out with her in the early days, her friends. He says this about her: "I don't know who this woman is." And again, nothing wrong with being unknown. Mm-hmm. You know, we're not being high and mighty here. I don't walk out of the house pretending that I'm some celebrity who's gonna get recognized.
That's it. That's just it. There's nothing wrong with having a modest career, right? But if you're let's see, what's a good example? If you're an employee of a company and you walk around like you're the CEO, that's a problem. That if you want to be the CEO one day, all the power to you.
Work for it, do it.
Work for it, do it. But you don't get there just by acting like it.
Exactly.
That having the right attitude is part of it, but trying to lie to people about that.
Yeah, I mean, there was this 2013 interview she had with Larry King, may he rest in peace. She had it with Patrick, what's his face? Adams, her co-star. And boy, by the way, I would recommend you watch that interview if you haven't already. You will see the mask slipping because she wasn't the center of attention because she had to share the limelight with Patrick.
Oh no, God forbid.
And Larry King, bless him, you know, I don't know much about him. To me, he just looked like a sweet old man. He talks over his guests. He interrupts a lot.
Yeah.
Which, yes, it's, when even watching it, it's like, oh, it's rude. It's annoying, you know, especially if it's your job to interview people. But he did it a lot. And she was not happy.
You don't speak over me.
The jaw muscles. Jaw muscles and the glaring. She just can't help herself.
Yeah.
The mask slips.
Yeah.
So in that interview, the reason I brought it up is Larry King asks the two of them, has life changed? You know, how has Suits changed your life? And remember, this is 2013. Patrick, she answers first. She does this thing in that interview where she jumps to any opportunity to answer first. She says, oh, you know, like the game has truly changed, you know, where before we had some sort of anonymity, now all the anonymity is gone, the privacy's gone, but it's okay, it's worth it because it's for the show, you know. So she's pretending that she's Brad Pitt walking around.
I was just thinking Brad Pitt.
It's brilliant because I didn't pull it out of my head.
Yeah.
Patrick jumps in and says, well, you know, at the same time, it's not like we're getting mobbed everywhere. It's not like we're Brad Pitt. And the look she gives him, if looks could kill. And she looks at Larry and like kind of raises her eyebrows like, are you buying this? She was not happy. You could just see her, like it's in her eyes. She's going, one day, not one day, I'm not going to stop until I am at Brad Pitt level. And kudos to her. She did it.
Yeah, except she's not famous. She's infamous. So.
Yes. For sure.
People go to movies to see Brad Pitt. People watch and read articles like this to hear about Meghan.
Yes, and the thing is, why I brought it up was, you know, here we're getting this confirmation from everyone, from, you know, the chief editor, this interviewer, Harry himself. I was like, we don't know who this woman is. And she's walking around in 2013 pretending that she's some A-list celebrity that she has to hide. And, oh, now the game has changed. The anonymity is gone. But lady, no one knew you.
Yeah.
You walked around the streets of Toronto. Yes, you had a great job. I'm not going to take away from her accomplishments, you know, whatever. You know, I think the level of fame she attained for Suits is perfect. She got to do her dream job, but also got to maintain her anonymity.
Yeah.
Which is, to me, literally heaven.
Yeah.
You know? But, of course, to people like her and Amber, it's besides the point. Everything they do is to lose any shred of anonymity.
Yeah.
So, all right. Look, by the way, I do have to say, I think we're going to have to cover the second extract next week because we're already half an hour in and we have so much to get through. I want to do this piece justice because this is... that's what this is. Okay. Contrary to Omid Scobie's assertion that Meghan wanted to tell the world I'm in love... Well, the world doesn't care, Meghan, no offense. Or they cared because it was Harry. And did the interview with Harry's blessing... Kastner arrived at Meghan's home and was told that his interviewee was under strict orders from both Harry and Thomas Morgan that she had to be very tight-lipped about sensitive subjects.
Imagine that! Oh,
including Donald Trump, race, their relationship, and especially himself, Harry. He was not to be mentioned, so she was ordered not to talk about these things.
Which, if we rewind back to what she told Harry, this is about Suits, this isn't about us. Oh, okay, well, in that case, just on top of what lie you've already told me, don't mention us.
Exactly, specific, strict instructions, because Diana and Sarah Ferguson had previously destroyed themselves in interviews, and they didn't want that to happen again. So, at 12:30, Kastner watched Meghan prepare lunch in a tiny kitchen, which I'm assuming is in her home. She talks about the local market and where she gets her ingredients, and I baked a cake. As she darted in and out, pummeling him with questions about his school, marriage, and work, Kastner began to sense a reversal of roles. So she was interviewing him, which is interesting because based on the older interviews I would watch of her, she does have that tendency. She likes to take control of the narrative.
Well, as just like with her co-star Patrick with Larry, it's like, no, I speak first.
Yes. And so when she gets interviewed, a lot of the time, she starts being the interviewer. And back, when I had a lot more kind of patience for her, I would say, oh, it's because she has the TIG, her website, and maybe she's used to being the interviewer because she interviews people for the TIG, and she did like TIG talks. By the way, this was before TikTok, so I will say she didn't steal. It's TIG talk, and it was I know it was before TikTok was a thing. So just in case someone goes, oh, she stole that. Point being, I used to give her a lot of leeway, but it's definitely a control thing. And to show who's, I'm big dog here.
Yeah.
Looking around, Kastner noticed that the kitchen walls were covered with photos of herself. Which, I don't know. You tell me. My personal instinct is you can have a couple of photos of your family and yourself, your wedding, your parents, your graduation day, of course, your friends, but covered with photos of herself instantly, ding, 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 like alarm bells again.
Well, I mean, what's the point of putting photos up? It's to celebrate a moment, right?
Yeah.
So you put up your graduation photo because you're celebrating the fact that you graduated. It was a lovely memory. You put up your wedding photo. Same sort of deal. You put up a photo of you with your family or you with people you love. You are celebrating that.
But just yourself in the kitchen?
You're celebrating yourself and you're a fucking narcissist.
In the kitchen?
In the kitchen. Well, oh man, I really hate cutting these cards. Oh look, there's a photo of me. I feel inspired.
By the way, there's an element of entertainment here. So before someone takes this too seriously, please don't take this too seriously. There are much more serious topics on the planet to get really kind of passionate about, and this is not one of them.
Oh, I'm a little bit passionate about this because it's justice.
No, I mean like people passionate about our take on this.
Yeah.
It's levity, okay? We've had a lot of darkness the past few months with the heaviness of Johnny's case, and like I said, Meghan is just, I don't want to be mean, but she's pathetic.
Tig?
Pathetic. All right, so get this. This is. And the books piled on the coffee table were picture guides and history books of London. Only the A to Z of London's streets was missing, he thought, uncertain whether she had actually read any books about Britain. So, before anyone, if you're not 100% aware of the Meghan and Harry kind of dynamic, she ensnared the man. She pretended to be someone that she is not, in order to gain his affection, and including copying his mother, becoming a humanitarian suddenly in early 2016 when she had already set her sights on him, posing like his mother in Africa, all these things, getting her Wikipedia page edited a few days before their relationship was announced, from model and actress to humanitarian, UN ambassador. Even her Instagram blurb for a long time was all about a lover of handwritten notes and an actress and, dog mommy. And then it suddenly became UN activist, humanitarian, the Tig. So this is someone who carefully curated her image for Harry. What does this have to do with the London books? She would have him come over. And so obviously she bought these books and put them on her coffee table, as if anyone with half a brain wouldn't have noticed how odd it is that this woman who lives in Toronto, who's American, has a coffee table full of London books.
Yeah, and I get that, again, giving her the benefit of the doubt, I get that people go through phases where they're really interested in something, and so any other person, it would be like, oh, well, you're clearly interested in London at the moment, but yeah, someone's coming over for an interview. They're going to look at every piece of your apartment, so you've obviously got everything perfect. And most importantly, she claimed to not know who he was.
Exactly. And the thing is, I still, it's okay to have a couple of books about something you're interested in, but in the midst of other topics, like the coffee table books.
Yep.
They're all about London. This is what he's saying. Only the A to Z of London streets was missing.
Yep.
So if it was a mixture, a variety, then I would understand maybe it was an organic interest, a real interest. But the fact that they were all about London and who's from London, I mean, obviously I'm spelling out the obvious here, but this is all part of her ploy. This is the image that she carefully crafted to make it out like we're meant to be Harry. And also I'm putting in all this effort. Because that's what she said in the interview. I am so committed. I've left behind my life and I am committed. I want to hit the ground running. I am so excited to start working for the royal family and for the Commonwealth. And she included every single flower of the Commonwealth in her veil. And the Queen loved that idea. It was all a ploy.
My goodness.
So the interviewer, Mr. Kashner, says that even before they sat down to eat, he felt uneasy.
Yes, as often is the case when someone is living such a grandiose lie. It's just...
Well, it's a vibe you get.
It is.
The vibe he got from her, and he was right, made him uneasy.
Most of us know instinctively when something isn't right.
Yeah.
And
it's a matter of listening to our gut.
Exactly. And especially when the piece you're doing, I mean, this is the same guy that said he didn't know who she was. So, yeah, I mean, all the red flags are there.
And it's these are parallels with Johnny. Not that I'm comparing Kashner to Johnny, because I don't know what alarm bells Harry has been getting, if any. But Johnny stifled his instincts.
Yeah.
They were talking to him. They were yelling at him.
Yeah.
And he was enamored by her. And it took him 1.5 years until he finally started going, I'm going to start listening.
Yes.
And these are his own words. We all watched the trial. Right. So both knew that a lot was riding on the interview, and both understood that the critical issue of Harry had been vetoed. Do not speak about Harry. Meghan spoke, he realized, knowing that she had the winning ticket, but avoiding giving an impression of triumphalism. Meghan spoke about my speech to the UN, which, I don't know if you know the story. She gave a speech in October of 2015. I watched it. And, I thought, again, in hindsight, when I was watching it, I thought it was a good speech at the time. This is the thing with Meghan and myself. When I watch her, now, in hindsight, I go, again, I got red flags, but I went, I'm reading too much into it. So I used to think, boy, she seems really into herself. And then I go, no, she's probably just very confident.
I'm guessing there were a lot of eyes.
Oh, far too many. But she was good at the girl next door act as well. At least to me. Many of you can say I'm young and naive. But to me, before the interview, the Oprah interview, I bought it, but again, I swear to God, I had this uneasy feeling as well of she's very contrived. It's very fake and very put on.
And she's meant to be an actor.
Yeah. she's personal opinion. She's not good at that, and she has that in common with Amber as well.
If she was a good actor, I don't think people would be writing as many articles or books about all of this, because she would have a lot of us fooled.
Well, not only that, if she was good, including Amber, they would have had a career to speak of.
Yeah.
Without riding on the coattails of their men.
Before Harry, before Johnny.
Yeah, exactly. And she says about that speech, which was very contrived, my goodness. She says that she received a standing ovation. Little did she know, as she repeated that lie time and time again throughout the years, that one day she would marry Prince Harry, and one day someone or everyone would uncover her past and reveal the photo of the aftermath of her speech. No one stood up. They politely applauded her, as they should.
Yeah. See, she made the mistake of thinking that this is I think the biggest thing for her. She tells lies that she thinks no one could possibly uncover or disprove what I'm saying. So she's like, there's no way that anyone's going to know whether there was a standing ovation or not, so I can lie about that. There's no way anyone's going to know if we secretly got married 3 days earlier, because they're just going to let it slide.
Yeah.
Rachel has gotten her way in all of these aspects up to this point because of people who didn't just go, hold on a second, I think what you just said is BS. But now that the entire world's doing it, suddenly it's actually very easy to prove that you lied about this, and this.
Absolutely. And the thing is, it was because she wasn't important enough for people to research her assertions.
Yeah.
When she would sit there in the interviews that she probably really chased to make happen, when she was not a well-known person, she people who would hear her answers never thought to then go dig.
Yep.
But people dug.
Yep.
People dug. And Tom Bauer is one of them.
Yeah.
So, she also talks about the letter that she wrote as an 11-year-old to Procter & Gamble. Again, some backstory for you.
Yeah.
There was a soap dish ad back in the early 90s. I believe it was before we were born. And the ad went, women all over America are fighting dirty pots and pans with this dishwashing liquid. And she was in school, and they played it on, they were watching TV or some movie or something, and this was the ad that came up, and she was infuriated, and she went home to her dad. Just didn't sit well with her as an 11-year-old. This is how she talks. Even from that very early age, I had this strong sense of equality. And so her dad told her to write letters to Procter & Gamble, to Hillary Clinton, then the First Lady, and to Gloria Allred, who I think was a lawyer, I'm not sure. And she says that she received a response from Gloria Allred and Hillary Clinton, but not Procter & Gamble. And the ad was then changed from women all over America to people all over America. And the way she says this story, it is literally rehearsed. Everything she says is rehearsed, because when you watch her multiple interviews, she says the exact same thing. Yes. Another red flag, which we talked about when we brought up the Ellen interview last year, because I brought up her story of how she used to have this broken down car. Remember that, to drive to auditions? I
remember that story.
And I brought up a 2016 version.
Yep.
And the Ellen version.
Yep.
And it was identical. Same deal with this story and the UN speech, and another story of her dad's job, which we'll get to next, because, oh my God, this woman, to be honest, I don't like calling people names, but she really is suffering in the IQ level.
Absolutely.
Domain, yeah. She's just not. No.
Better yet, I want to know who she's stealing these stories from. Because that's what it feels like. It feels like if you had a time machine and you could go back to, spots in Rachel's life, you could probably hear her sitting there listening to someone else tell the story authentically, right?
Yeah.
And she's probably taken bits and twisted it, because, one letter from an 11-year-old girl, as much as I wish that the world would change with such purity.
Right?
These days, hey, let's look at this what is it? Was 6 million signed petition to get Amber Heard removed from Aquaman 2?
Yep.
Okay, so if 6 million signatures, publicly known worldwide, isn't going to get Amber removed, then how is an 11-year-old girl going to stand up to an advertising conglomerate? It just doesn't add up.
Nothing adds up. And the way she talks about it is, so you see, if one 11-year-old girl can do this, imagine what other people can do. And I'm like, well, you didn't do it though.
No.
However, we'll get to that. So Mr. Kastner thinks to himself as she tells him this story, it's hard to know if she's genuine. She's an actress. And by the way, who else steals stories? Amber. One of her SA stories, she stole right off Kate James, her Australian assistant.
What was that one, the thing about Johnny? That she stole from the movie?
From The Talented Mr. Ripley.
That's the one.
Which I incidentally watched last night on Netflix. Yeah, that whole quote about, the thing about Dickie, or Johnny in this case.
Yeah.
So, then she brings up this again. Oh my God, when I read this, I could hear Meghan's voice in interviews from 2015 and 2016. It's insane. Every day after school for 10 years, I was on the set of Married with Children, which was a really funny and perverse place for a little girl in a Catholic school uniform to grow up. And the way I read that out was almost verbatim how she would say it, which was a really perverse place. And she repeats that sentence no matter what interview she gives. And when I read this, I kind of got chills because I was like, wow, this is all scripted.
Yes.
This woman's life
Yeah.
is scripted.
See, most people when they are at home, they occupy themselves with hobbies. Some people do work around their house. Some people there's a myriad of things to do while at home. When Rachel goes home, she sits in front of the mirror with her script, right, and goes over and over and over again. Ironically, not something she probably does on the set of actual TV shows and movies. She probably still doesn't know her script when she does that because, hey, again, and not mocking extras or anything, but the one where she was just like a nurse off to the side or a doctor and she had 2 seconds.
Like a receptionist. Yeah. That was awful.
Yeah, and it's like, I was in this show. Okay, you were on there for 2 seconds.
Yeah.
Good job.
Look, again, there's a reason she never made it.
Yeah.
I don't want to be mean. There are many people who don't have fathers who were lighting directors, award-winning lighting directors in Hollywood, and who didn't marry producers. They were completely alone, and they never made it, but they were talented.
Yes. Oh, even still, when it comes to the music industry, we hear about this all the time, about people who got their gig, got famous because they had, rich, powerful, and influential parents.
Yeah, like Taylor Swift.
Right? And now, I couldn't tell you the last time I heard a Taylor Swift song, but I think we can agree that there are people in the music industry who shouldn't be in the music industry, right?
Yeah.
And they shouldn't be doing what they're doing. And I'm not going to go through that list now. But at the very least, they can act like they belong, right? They can act like a complete narcissist and like they're all that, right?
Yeah.
She can't even do that. So you don't even need talent if you have the connections. And here she is with the connections.
That's what I'm saying.
And she's got nothing.
That's what I'm saying. People who don't have the connections and they don't make it, that's not their fault.
No.
It's because it's not what you know, it's who you know. She knew people.
Yep.
Especially when she joined the Soho House. She connected with the fashion world's elite and everyone famous was friends with her. And she still couldn't make it because when it came to that audition room, she just wasn't good enough.
Yeah, I reckon they wouldn't have even given her auditions in a lot of cases because the thing about those higher up people, right? Higher up, I say in inverted commas because, at the end of the day, we're all human beings.
Yeah.
But those people who would make those decisions, I'll put you on a runway. Yeah, I've got a TV show. Yeah, I'll give you a record deal, right? Those people, they can sense things, right? They know when they can twist and mold and manipulate someone to do what they want to do, right? Yeah. I guarantee you that a lot of people, when they first met Rachel, went, yeah, no, I'm not dealing with this person. This ain't it.
Well, there's this other interview of hers, and by the way, if you're all wondering how I know all this, I do a lot of research. Well, I wouldn't say research, but I like to know what the backstory is because I will still maintain that I was never a fan. So this is not like I would come across her interviews before the Oprah interview and go, okay, I guess I'll watch it because YouTube told me to.
Yeah.
But recently, since we start covering her, I have gone back.
Yeah.
Because it's like, oh my God, hindsight is 2020. And so I go back to like kind of, you know, detect more lies, more hints and clues every now and then. So that's how I know all this. But there was an interview where she proudly says that she had to audition for this extra role where she had one word to say, which is hello. And then she goes in and says, yes, but I think I could do so much more with this other character. She came in for the hello girl, and she tried to convince the casting directors that she could give them so much more. Yep. So it's completely spot on with what you just said. It's like she walks in going, I'm so much better.
She wants to take control of the situation, of the conversation. But just like the CEO analogy, there are times when you are not in control, right? There are many gigs I've played as a musician where I have not done crazy solos. It was about sitting in the back and doing a simple riff because that's what the song required.
Yep.
If you want to get past Hello Girl, you have to start with Hello Girl.
Exactly.
You don't go, well, this isn't good enough for me.
Yeah. All right, let's get back to it. You're not the typical journalist, Meghan said coyly. I like you. Especially your stuttering. That is one of the bitchiest power plays This is typical Regina George Mean Girls. Oh my God, I love your sweater. Where'd you get it? You know what I mean? It's like, I like you, especially your stuttering. Like, she's picking out a flaw in him, a perceived flaw. Veiled it with the pretense of a compliment. But it was a very backhanded compliment. It's like, you have a stutter.
Anyone who's ever had a friend with a stutter, and I've had multiple friends with stutters, right? The one thing that they want more than anything from my friends, the one thing they want is to be treated normally. They do not want attention brought to it. The same way that when I've worked with people in a wheelchair, they don't want you to bring attention to that.
Yep.
They want to be treated normally.
She brought it up to get him, you know what I mean, where it hurts. And he felt he was being played.
Yep.
It was a cat and mouse game, he reasoned. And she was calculating how to take advantage of the cards played. She won't hit her goal by being genuine, he concluded. After lunch, she kicked off her shoes, tucking her legs onto the seat. Meghan visibly relaxed and, to Kashner, appeared sexy. This was the moment to pry. This is obviously her MO. This is what she does. This is all she can do.
Can I just hold on a second?
Yeah.
What is this about? Going to marry Harry? Going to you can't talk about Harry. So what? You're gonna flirt with this other guy?
That's all these women know how to do.
Oh,
they
boy.
can be married and committed to someone. And I feel like they don't even know how to be around men without being flirtatious and, sexy or provocative.
Which is disgusting, because when you're committed to someone, in my opinion, you're committed to someone.
Well, it's not even if let's say you're single and you're in a workplace.
Yes.
You're not meant to be suggestive or provocative or sexy.
There's a time and place.
And quite frankly, getting interviewed is, it's an interview. It's a professional space. Yes, it's in her house, but you can still maintain some semblance of professionalism in your own house.
I know. Sorry to stop that for a moment, but I've always suspected, and I think a lot of people suspected, especially if we roll back to Amber and Justice Nichols, not worth a nickel, that these type of women are not above doing those sorts of favors, if you catch what I mean. And this is evidence towards that.
Yeah, I agree. He saw this, though. He took advantage of this and saw this as, I guess, a chink in her armor. Mm-hmm. This was the moment to pry, he says. Tell me about Harry. Even though he's not allowed. And he wasn't expecting an answer. But she couldn't help herself. So she goes, we're a couple. We're in love. Meghan replied into the recording device. Clearly prepared, she balked when asked, what does love mean? She didn't respond. Instead, she asked Kashner about his marriage. Again, taking control. I don't want to answer that question, so I'm going to come back with another question for you.
Oh my gosh, this is so good. This is why you were shining about this. This is brilliant.
Eventually, she uttered, "I'm sure there'll be a time when we will have to come forward and present ourselves and have stories to tell. But I hope what people will understand is that this is our time. This is for us. It's part of what makes it so special that it's just ours. But we're happy. I love a great love story."
That's
Who
just
says that?
It's a story.
Who says that?
And how do... okay.
And you know what? Can I just say,
Go.
as someone who scoured through the archive of her Instagram in preparation for this, she had this phase where she was wearing this bracelet that Harry gave her that he wore as well. And it was 2016. It was when the relationship was meant to be hush-hush. No one knew about it. Suddenly, her Instagram was flooded with photos of her left hand holding whatever object she could, hold for an excuse for a photo. A coffee, a glass of, alcohol, flowers, a fist pump with her friends. Anything to showcase. Oh, holding a mug. There was a very famous one of her holding a mug. Anything to showcase that bracelet. And that's her going, "Oh yeah, but I hope people understand that this is our time."
Yeah, furthermore, again, someone told Rachel what to do, so she did the opposite.
Well, I'm calling her out on her own bullshit. She's pretending that this is our time. This is our time to nurture our relationship.
No, it's not.
And to be in love. This is just ours. It's like the 3-day before the wedding that never happened. It's like this, this is our private lives. Yeah, says the lady who couldn't stop trying to tell the world, and the world still didn't get it, really, that she was dating Prince Harry with those bracelet shots.
Yep.
It was the most painfully obvious thing on the planet.
Yep.
And it gets better. She says, "I've never defined myself by my relationship. She was an independent woman who would not be defined by her relationship with Harry." What is the cover story? What does it say? Am I blind? Does it say Meghan Markle, the humanitarian who was taking the world by storm, or, feeding one child at a time? I don't know. Fixing the world one thingy at a time. She's just wild about Harry.
I mean, at this point, Harry should have gone, "I told her not to speak about this." They put it on the fucking front cover. At that point, you go, maybe I should reconsider who I'm with.
But it's because she told him, "Well, honey, I had nothing to do with this. They lied to me. They promised me it would..." You know how these magazines are. You know how these tabloids are. They twist everything you say. And she would use the truth, because they do that. She would use the truth, as she always does, to promote her agenda and to dupe people and to fool people.
I mean, she obviously left out the part where she was, trying to flirt with him.
Of course. But it's funny. This is, it comes back to what we said. Her entire existence, as we know it and as she knows it, is purely centered on the man that she's with.
Yes.
And, even prior to Harry, Trevor, the Hollywood producer,
Yep.
he got her the Suits role, as far as people are aware, as far as the evidence is pointing. They married, she got it.
Yep.
But much like Amber, even the way Amber dressed every day in court, in a man's suit almost, it was obviously for women, but it was a very masculine suit. And she was trying to promote this strong, independent woman that don't need no man.
Well, I mean, if you didn't need a man.
Well, the thing is, if it's true, you don't walk around, with a megaphone, saying it any chance you get.
Exactly. This is one of the biggest problems, is if you keep screaming, "I don't need a man," and unprompted, out of nowhere, sorry to say, but you haven't yet figured out how to not need a man, and you're not trying to convince the world, you're trying to convince yourself.
Exactly. It's because they know the truth on the inside, and they're almost yelling it out to stifle down the truth that they're living with. Over the next few days, Kashner called those who Meghan had recommended as her friends. The tennis player Serena Williams denied she was Meghan's friend, but just an acquaintance. She gave him an enigmatic quote, which made it in the actual article, of course. "You've got to be who you are, Meghan. You can't hide." Kashner's unease grew. Soon after he had returned to New York, Meghan sent him spices from the market. Meghan's snow job, he added. By the way, I don't know what that means. I don't know what a snow job means.
Neither do I.
But she's doing that typical thing of being overly familiar. One might say, oh, it's lovely. Why shouldn't she have done that? Because she doesn't know him.
No, you know what? The whole sending spices from the market, it's way too romantic.
It's not just romantic. It's like, look, she doesn't know him. He interviewed her.
Yeah.
It's clearly, make sure you write a good piece. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
A bribe.
Yeah.
Or an attempt at one, at least.
Ah, man, it's... She's like, my personality's so great, all I need to do is send him spices from the market.
Yeah, much like she sent her husband her rings back by the mail as well.
Yeah.
That's how she announced her divorce.
It's got that whole, like, remember how much of a lovely time we had sort of thing? Like, remember that wonderful interview? Remember when I was flirting with you even though I was with Harry? I'm going to keep coming back to that because that's what she does.
By the way, the wild about Harry thing, you don't know this, I think. When Harry was born, there was a newspaper cover photo of Diana holding him as a newborn. And the headline was Wild About Harry. So it elevates it to a whole other level of creepy.
You know what? Psychologists are going to study this in years to come as exactly what it is. The entire Rachel impersonating Harry's dead mother.
Yeah, this sick kind of incestuous undertone. Yeah, for sure.
And like this is a textbook study, and I really hope that it does make it into some sort of textbook in the future because this is another level.
Yeah. All right, so the photo shoot on the London rooftop with Peter Lindbergh. The photographer Peter Lindbergh reported that Meghan was a delight, despite Meghan's refusal to look sexy. And this is a very common thing with these personality types.
Yeah.
In small doses, you don't know them.
Yeah.
They are, or can be, very charismatic,
Yeah.
very friendly, and they can win you over. And the danger only starts when you get to know them. And of course, this is from personal experience. I'm sure we all know someone like this. So she hoped that her attire of, kind of, I don't want to say dressed down, because have you all seen that ball gown that she wore? She was already playing princess. Where is it? I mean, talk about subliminal messaging. And she thought that this dress would win the palace's approval. Little did she know. I mean, obviously we know that's a lie. She just picked it because she wanted to be, look at me, I'm a princess.
Yeah, I can tell it doesn't because they didn't like shoulderless. So
True.
even I know that.
Sunshine Sachs had demanded that the magazine satisfy Meghan's requirement that she be presented as a philanthropist and activist, without considering one problem. Vanity Fair's scrupulous researchers could find no evidence of her global philanthropy and activism. Hollywood philanthropy is PR philanthropy, Graydon Carter often observed. And
Absolutely.
This was a classic case of that.
This is what she does. She pretends to be something she isn't, and that's the problem. If you are these things, great. If you are not these things, that's fine. If you pretend to be something you're not, you're a disgusting human being.
What I love is that Vanity Fair's scrupulous researchers clearly didn't think that her photo shoot in Africa in early 2016 qualified as being a humanitarian and a philanthropist, because that's what, she went with World Vision and took literally what people say this white savior photo shoot, except she's, mixed, so a mixed race photo shoot with African kids, copying Harry and of course Diana. And I love that the Vanity Fair researchers didn't consider that to be humanitarianism, because it's not.
It's not.
It's PR.
Exactly. I reckon a lot of those African kids, of all the technology that they're oblivious to, I reckon a lot of them know how to use a DSLR.
Reading Kashner's completed interview, Vanity Fair's editor knew the article was a huge coup for the magazine. The familiar and well-rehearsed profile gush about the dilemma of taking the race box at school, the mixed race dolls, and the Los Angeles riots was good color. But her revelation, this is all they cared about. Yeah, cool, your backstory is all cute and all with your mixed race. Oh, which box do I take, white or black? She, again, one of her many rehearsed stories. All they cared about was, we're a couple, we're in love. Because that guaranteed front page headlines. Again, reminding her, and in a way putting her in her place. Lady, sorry, you're all cute and all, but your only value, your only worth is your connection to Prince Harry.
Absolutely. And when I saw that front cover just now on the podcast, all I could think was, if it wasn't that exact title, no one would have picked it up.
Absolutely. People would have looked at it and gone, who's that?
Look, as much as I love, good people, humanitarians, philanthropy. You're right, that word is tricky. And all of that sort of stuff, right? When it comes to selling to the masses, they don't really care about good people.
Nah.
They care about gossip and drama. And when you're a magazine, you want to sell the gossip and the drama. So, unfortunately, that's the business move they're going to make.
And she knew it. She knows this. That's why she's latched onto him. And the marriage happened in record time.
Yep.
You know, yes, she was... I hate being ageist, but this society is, so I disagree. But according to society's norms, heck, according to society's norms, ever since I was 21, people are asking me when I was going to have kids. And it's like, anyways, so she was getting close to 40 by the time they were getting married. So one can say it was rushed because they wanted to start a family and she was getting older, and they already labeled her pregnancies as, what's the word? Geriatric pregnancies, because she was a late stage, you know, she was an older woman getting pregnant technically, so it's high risk.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and say that the royal family, one of the richest institutions on the entire planet with the most money and the most resources, probably could have saved her eggs.
Yeah, I don't know. Point being, some can say they were, because she had the child in record time. She got pregnant. Technically, I think, you know, it was announced when they landed here in Australia in October. They said she was 3 months pregnant. Do the math. She got pregnant in July. Not even 2 months after they got married.
Yep.
That is record breakneck speed.
Yep.
This is a woman with a mission.
Yep.
And again, it's one of those things that made people's eyebrows raise. You got pregnant really fast, lady. So, she knows. She knows he's her meal ticket. She's under no illusion that it's her.
Yep.
And it kills her.
Yep.
All right. Meghan's interview took the royal family into uncharted waters. Of course, she's a game changer, as she likes to say.
Game breaker.
Yeah. As the magazine was printed, Meghan was celebrating her 36th birthday with Harry in Botswana. Meghan had brought with her a copy of Pride, a small circulation magazine aimed at mixed race and black Britons. The magazine featured an interview with her. She dragged over a magazine all the way to Botswana because it featured an interview with her. I don't know if we're being nitpicky here. I don't know. Maybe, I guess you can be proud that you featured in a magazine. I don't know.
I'm going to swing back to this. There are so many actors that I've heard of recently who don't watch their own movies, right?
Yeah, Johnny Depp being one of them.
That being one of the most recent ones. Like, they don't watch their own movies. And they're good at what they do, right?
Yeah.
Like, how about Christian Bale not knowing what the Marvel Cinematic Universe was, right? So he's picked the role because, anyway, without getting sidetracked, you don't need to imagine someone rocking up to anywhere in the world with a copy of every movie they've ever been in.
Well, this is one magazine, to be fair.
I mean, it's the only magazine that we're going to give her, right?
I feel like this could be a place where we're nitpicking.
Yeah.
At least for me, you can, you know, your opinion may vary, but this could be nitpicky. So you let us know what you think. Was it weird that she took over a copy of a magazine that featured an interview with her, or was it just a moment of pride? A moment of pride for her. That's the name of the magazine.
You know, if it was anyone else, I would give it the benefit of the doubt because it's her and we know what she's like.
I guess, in context.
Yes.
Yeah. Pre-publication copies were released to Sunshine Sachs and Buckingham Palace in early September. The front cover... Wait, did I miss something? Sorry. The magazine featured an interview with her. She described her fight against racial prejudice. Again, we hear this familiar, you know, in the magazine, she described her fight against racial prejudice and the importance of female empowerment. As a woman of color, she told the magazine she felt an obligation to speak about being half black. Vanity Fair, she imagined, would blast her same message across the globe. Again, as someone who is also, you know, technically a woman of color, I'm not the typical, you know, I'm Caucasian, but I'm not what society deems white.
Yeah.
And so the message is legit. You know, it's important to talk about equality and all that. But knowing Meghan, people from her background, people from her past will tell you, including her father and her siblings, that she never once experienced any racial prejudice.
Yeah.
And she said, you know, again, in her older interviews, she literally said that it opened doors for her in Hollywood because she could audition for anything and everything.
Yeah.
So this is clearly another attempt to come across as this feminist, humanitarian, egalitarian.
Also someone that people can feel sorry for, and especially when it comes to trying to hop into a camp where she thinks she's going to be free of persecution.
Yes, using the race card as she has been doing
Yep.
to deflect any criticism. If you criticize her on anything, and unfortunately many people of color can do this, I've noticed it online, not just celebrities, where they're criticized over something completely different, and they go, you're being racist. Like you're not allowed to comment.
Exactly. It's nothing to do with their race, and it's to do with an action they've done.
Exactly. You can't hide behind your race and block any criticism. And it's interesting for me that she started this, woman of color and equality thing before the marriage, because like I said, it wasn't an issue before she met him, but she started to use it, as we know from the very famous statement released by Kensington Palace. Was it Kensington? Buckingham? Someone told me in the comments, Kensington is, I think it's, oh my god, I don't know. Buckingham Palace is, I think, tell me in the comments again. The palace released a statement on behalf of Harry in 2016, very early, months after they met, attacking the public and the media for their racist attacks, or admonishing the public and the media for their racist attacks against Meghan Markle, Prince Harry's girlfriend.
This is the don't complain, don't explain. So when they actually say something, they mean it.
Well, that's not the point I'm trying to make. She started playing the race card very early on. She probably saw one headline she didn't like. It probably wasn't even negative. Or maybe an unflattering photo, or an unflattering or a sentence she didn't like. And Harry had to release that statement of, this is horrible and disgusting behavior. And it was a very strong statement that was honestly unprecedented from the palace, especially about a girlfriend, a mere girlfriend of a few months.
That's what I mean. Normally they go with the don't complain, don't explain thing, right? She would have been pushing so hard for that.
Absolutely. Catherine was hounded, not just, by paparazzi. The articles, Waity Katie on the side of a bus, and Catherine was significantly younger. She was a very, William was her first love. They met when they were teenagers. So for her to go through that, and she wasn't a wannabe actress. She wasn't courting fame and Hollywood and celebrity, and she had the TIG and posing for magazine. Like, Meghan was a seasoned woman. As much as she wasn't famous, she strove to put herself in the public eye. And so she shouldn't have even batted an eyelid over this. And yet we get that strong statement, and Catherine got nothing of the sort.
When Rachel finally gets the attention she wanted, she goes, oh no, have to respond to that.
So the race card came up very early on in the relationship. It's despicable. Especially when, like we said multiple times, people didn't even know she was part black.
No, that's never, until she pulled the card, I went, all right, she's just another person. You know what I mean?
Well, for people, it was until they saw her mom. They got confused. Like, who's that African-American woman? Oh, it's her mother. People couldn't even connect the dots. Pre-publication copies were released to Sunshine Sachs and Buckingham Palace. Okay, so it's Buckingham Palace. They're the ones that release press statements, I'm guessing. The front cover photograph of Meghan was covered by the headline, "She's just wild about Harry." Meghan's unprecedented brazenness took Buckingham Palace by surprise and electrified the British media. The interview triggered sensational reactions. Meghan had used her relationship to promote herself. Shock, horror. The Hollywoodization of the royal family had sealed Meghan's fate as Harry's fiancée. Within hours, Meghan called Ken Sunshine and Thomas Morgan. Hysterically, she described Buckingham Palace's fury at wild about Harry. They hated it. Sunshine Sachs, said Meghan, should have ensured that her comments about Harry were removed. Why wasn't the focus on her philanthropy and activism?
Because there is none.
Well, exactly. Brilliant. Because they researched it and they couldn't find anything. So what? She wanted them to go along with the lie? But second of all, can we not pretend for 1 second that we're going to buy her story, that she didn't want it to be about her? She saw that magazine cover and felt like she had made it. She wanted to do whatever she wanted, whenever she wanted, and that's not what the royal family is about. That's not what a lot of people are about, actually. The thing is, Vanity Fair didn't want to talk about her philanthropy. That's not why they were interested in you. I mean, it's in the word, vanity. Exactly. Brilliant. That's brilliant. It reminds me of Benjamin Chew when he said, no one cared about what Amber Heard had to say unless it was about Johnny Depp. Ding. So this is the same situation here. Sunshine feared that Meghan would fire his agency. Puzzled why Buckingham Palace was angry, he called the magazine's editor to deliver what he imagined to be the ultimate threat. "You're going to have to deal with the Queen," he said. The furious monarch, he imagined, would pick up the phone and berate the editor. The editor was bemused. Meghan, Sunshine was told, didn't get the cover in her own name, but because of who she was likely to marry. The editor said that.
Yep.
It's like, what did you think? We were interviewing her for her philanthropy? For her basically non-existent philanthropy?
You're either Harry's wife or you're no one.
So apparently, she wasn't happy about numerous things. She hated the title Wild About Harry, right? Because she was promoting her philanthropy. She was furious that her Procter & Gamble story was omitted. But this is the thing. Vanity Fair's fact checkers had raised questions about its accuracy, that Procter & Gamble story.
Yeah.
And after consulting Procter & Gamble and advertising historians, they concluded that they could not prove the story. They could also find no evidence, as Meghan claimed, that she received a reply from Clinton.
Yep.
Unknown to Kashner, Thomas Markle knew Clinton and Procter & Gamble had not replied to Meghan. The success of her campaign was fictitious.
Yep.
Invented by an adoring father.
Yep.
It's pretty sad, actually, when you think about it.
It's so...
I mean, if she bought it, if he told her that she had received a response and maybe even, I don't know, written a fake letter, it is pretty sad. I don't think parents should be doing that because this is what it leads to, an overinflated head.
Exactly. He's created this monster. And I will say, parents, close your kids' ears if they're around. Eventually you have to tell your kids that the truth about Santa Claus. Right?
I think many kids at this stage.
Yeah, they absolutely would. But eventually you do. So if you're going to do something like this, eventually you have to pull your teenager aside or your adult child and go, hey, by the way, this wasn't quite true. Just so you don't go spouting lies at everyone. We just wanted you to feel special as a child. But
I mean, I guess if she truly believed it, I guess it wasn't a lie to her. But anyways.
You know what? He might have even done that. He might have even told her that. And then she went,
I'm still going to use it.
Makes a great story. Who's going to fact check me? Vanity Fair.
Now, this is where we get, a real taste of, what we already know by now, really, which is she complained because she wasn't presented in the way she wanted, recalled Kashner. She demanded that the media do what she expects. I felt manipulated. So this is from very early. This is before the announcement of the engagement. She wanted to wield this tyrannical power.
Yes.
Over the media.
Yes, I mean, let's focus on the media for a moment because, I'll be the first to put up my hand and go, the media is a lot of what's wrong with our society, having such power and misusing it. But the reason that's the case is because the media has so much free reign. They are essentially the wild, wild west of information.
Yeah.
And if they want, the media are essentially do what Rachel does, which is tell you things that they think that you could never find the truth.
Yeah.
Right? Or that you'll just believe them at face value. She wants to tell the media, who will do whatever the hell they want anyway, how to run their business. That's not how it works. That's not how it works.
So there were apparently, requests for many corrections, but the only correction that Vanity Fair agreed to was in the original version of the interview, it said that she met Harry in May 2016. They were forced to correct it to July 2016. Now, why is this relevant? She was in a relationship with a chef at the time called Corey Vitello. And she was still living with him until mid-July. If it's true that she met Harry in May and that's when they started their relationship, then she's a cheater.
Well, I think we can all safely assume that.
If it's true, it's once again another parallel with Amber Heard.
Yes.
But we don't have the proof. But the original, I just want to say, there must be a reason why they went for May. Mm-hmm. Especially with these researchers.
Yeah.
They wouldn't have just pulled May out of nowhere.
Yeah.
I think there is definitely some validity behind it.
Yeah.
But they did correct it, and they published the change, and it's actually in the bottom as well. Oh, and this is where I got the 1.5 million views. See, the producers of Suits were awestruck that an actress from their series with a mere 1.5 million viewers had made Vanity Fair's cover. The only disappointment was that the royal relationship did not improve the ratings. On the other on the positive side, Harry remained utterly loyal. I mean, of course he did. He's under some kind of I don't know, some haze. I don't want to say, like, I don't know.
The thing is that Rachel's entire shtick with Harry is that she can sweet talk him into anything. The only time you can sweet talk someone with all the evidence in front of you, saying in contrary to what they're saying, is if you're really, really stupid.
And yeah, his own mother, as we've said before, said,
Yep.
I'm worried about Harry. He's not the brightest.
Yep, I wouldn't be surprised if Rachel says that one day.
So it ends with the following. Unlike the other young women who married the Windsors, it seemed Meghan would not remain silent. In London, Harry's family and their advisors were subdued. This was not an issue, as some would later assert, about the palace's handling or mismanagement of Meghan. Nothing could be done. The besotted prince ignored the warnings that Meghan spelled trouble for the palace.
Because at the end of the day, Harry obviously didn't care about his own family that much.
No, I mean, if he did, which we can get to next week, because we're going to cover the extract that focuses on him.
Yep.
If he did, he wouldn't have gone off on this almost defamatory campaign, a smear campaign against his own family, including after the death of his dear grandpapa.
Yeah, I mean, I swear he probably... This is even worse. What does he think, that the spirit of his mother lives on in her?
He's sick. I think she's convinced him of that.
Yeah.
I really, truly do.
Absolutely. I mean, this is the other thing too, right? The spiraling of Harry. It gets worse the further away from the royal family he is. I wouldn't be surprised if Harry is like actually getting therapy as in the royal family when he's a part of it, and then not getting it when he's out.
Absolutely getting therapy. And then he made it out like he only started to get therapy because Meghan convinced him, when we have documented proof that Catherine and William are the ones who convinced him to get therapy. I don't know if it's both of them or one of them. I'm going to mention two of them in case because it's either or. But essentially his family convinced him years before he even knew Meghan existed to get therapy, and he did, and he got better.
Look at the difference here. Catherine and/or William convince their brother/brother-in-law to get therapy because they care. Harry absolutely slanders and disrespects almost every single member of his family. Which
we will get to next week, because we've already run over. This was a long one. So there you have it. This is just a taste.
This is beautiful.
And the thing is, this is what happens when you lie.
Yeah.
Whether you're famous or not, even if it's in your own circle, the truth always finds a way.
Yes.
It's like how they say life always finds a way. The truth has a life of its own.
Life finds a way. That's a Jurassic Park quote.
And I don't understand how people like her have the audacity to sit there or go out there and lie to the world, knowing that they're lying, knowing that the truth is out there. I couldn't live. Can you imagine what a stressful life it would be waiting for someone to out you?
The answer to all of those questions, she's really stupid.
Delusional.
Grandiose. Delusional? You can argue that depending on how delusional someone is, it makes them incredibly stupid.
Yeah, it's a strong word. I know it's a strong word, but this woman, the lies she has told, and it's not even white lies. She's lied about
everything.
Really serious allegations.
Everything. Every aspect of her lie is every aspect of her life is a lie. Well, I guess it makes sense why I got those two mixed up. She's living a lie, and here it is for the world to see.
And she's even out to destroy her own sister. As we know, there's a defamation case pending on that.
I mean, if you think about how much Harry and Rachel disrespect their families, they're kind of perfect for each other in that way.
Absolutely. Yeah. They're two peas in a pod. Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
But that's it for today. Hope you all enjoyed this juicy piece of just the truth. Oh, my God, not a shred of philanthropy.
I know we enjoyed it. Jeez.
When I first came across this, I was delighted. I was like, I love seeing this.
Yes.
I love seeing people brought to justice because everyone's going to read this book or everyone's going to watch, even huge YouTubers talking about it. And the truth, she has nowhere to hide anymore. They have caught up with her in record time because she actually climbed the ladder in record time.
Yeah.
But, it's tit for tat. Yep. You get to your goal in record speed, you come crashing down in record speed.
Absolutely.
Especially, what do they say? Nothing good comes easy, right?
Exactly. And if you want to build your towers into the clouds, if you want to reach the stars, you better have a steady foundation all the way up.
Absolutely. And unfortunately, this is it's not how it's playing out for Meghan. We'll see how she deals with it. I'm definitely gonna get the book, like I said, and I'm curious to see if she tries to sue him. But I'm fairly certain he has been meticulous with fact checking because he knows.
This is great investigative journalism.
It's insane. I mean, even Vanity Fair, kudos to the mag. I didn't even know that they would have really looked into her background and gone, hold up. None of this. They've even went to verify the Clinton response.
You know what? Next time someone gets interviewed by Vanity Fair, they should have this book on there.
Right? It's like, maybe I shouldn't lie to Vanity Fair.
Yeah, just have the book and it's all right. It's all good. I'm not going to flirt with you.
I think she really thought they would be awestruck by her because she's probably, in her head, she thinks everyone gets awestruck by her. And she thinks she's all that, and she never for 1 second thought that people would fact check her.
Delusional.
And she comes across as the interviewer said, so fake
that
you can't help but fact check her.
That's always what I've thought of her, and that was my own personal feeling, and I didn't have a lot to back that up, but that was my unease. That this person isn't real, and I do not like fake people.
We all got that from the interview, and then the wedding, which we actually watched live 4 years ago. She was robotic.
Yeah.
And that is not how someone should be on their wedding day, especially a wedding day as big, as momentous as that one.
Yep.
So, all right, everyone, we hope you enjoyed this podcast. It's been a while since we delved into the Harkles, as people like to call them, the Sussexes. And waiting for part 2 next week. Well, I have the extract, obviously, but part 2, we'll get into the Megxit aftermath.
Awesome.
And then we'll get into the book, and I'll keep feeding you all tidbits if you don't buy the book. All right, take care, everyone, and we'll see you next time. Bye.